Happy motivation marketing you. I'm Chris Bettis from Fluent Mortgage. Market fluently. All right, so for the motivation, what is your why? I would think you've heard of this before. Why? Big picture. Why do you exist? Why do you get up every day? Why do you grind? Why do you strive? These have been TED Talks. These have been books. These have been video series. Like, this is critical. Another way, if it doesn't resonate with you, make sense, is start with the end in mind. An analogy we've used before, but I think it makes good sense, is yeah, you could run up and down I-5 north or south, you'll get somewhere, but before you start on I-5 south, probably figure out your goal is Portland, because it's going to take a really long trip. You're going to obviously have to hit a 180 at some point to get where you're going. So as we're business planning, as we're creating resolutions, right, it's almost the end of the year, what is your why? What is the end in sight? So there's the motivation for you today. So for us personally, some of the themes, maybe this will help you. United in 22. United in 2022 is our overriding mantra, our slogan, but the keys for us is we want to give more this year, increase our giving to bless other people, make more money. I want to see everybody in my team hit another level of income, and thirdly, work even less. So go from 4.5-day work weeks all the way down to 4. So that's the goals for us personally, okay? Market, this past week, really there was two things that came about. We've been talking about both of them for a while. The Federal Reserve just met. And so we knew it was coming, right? So the two things that they've identified at this point is inflation is going to be here for long term. As a result, they're going to highly accelerate the reduction of bond buying purchases, opposite of what Europe's doing. Europe is doing entirely. So they've already reduced it. They're going to accelerate that. And by the end of Q1 this next year, they'll be done buying bonds. So artificially, they've been holding down rates to help the economy, right? To help real estate. So by the end of Q1, they're going to stop artificially holding down rates. In addition to that, prime, short-term money, not long-term money, but does affect our interest rates. They're going to start raising prime, and they've said at least 3 times next year, beginning Q2, then 3, and then 4. We should see at least a 1% jump. Depending on the economy, we might see as high as a 2% jump. Lastly, what came about last week, of course, is a bunch of fear related to Omicron or COVID 5.0. So fear equals lower rates. So that was the past week. In terms of what we saw, if you look at the economy or in terms of rates online, I mean, rates are shockingly good, right? 2.375 for almost no cost. If you need me to cover your closing costs, all as high as 3%. Again, like always, the national average APR is 2.963. We're touching at 2.3. So we're almost 0.75% lower than like normal. And then, of course, those easy civilian loans. This week, I should say, a really light report week. Really light economically, obviously. Christmas, at the end of the week. The economy is kind of slow to tick in terms of that. What I would recommend short term is take advantage, right? Like rates are sick, weights are ridiculous. We're going to lock in a few refis this week. In terms of mid-range, extreme volatility. And the hard thing for me predicting is administratively, they're doing polar opposites, right? They're being schizophrenic. They're heading down as fast as they can on the northbound lane, and then they're hitting about face and they're racing southbound. So the hard thing for us, as we're trying to predict, is just the schizophrenic nature of what the admin's doing in terms of economic policy. Not judging them, not politics, just economic policy, right? And then lastly, we know based on the Federal Reserve, based on what we have to do, we should see much higher interest rates like back in the 80s, right? What we had to do to correct the economy and what we're seeing in terms of hyperinflation. Wild cards though, I got 2 for you. Of course, the C word. Something you've probably never heard about and even talking about internally in the office. The office like, what are you talking about, Chris? Remember, I predicted the C word 1.0 6 months before anybody else in Oregon even said a word about it. We may lose the dollar as the international standard. So that's a really big one. If we lose the dollar as the international standard, if it goes to the euro, if it goes to China's version, if we go to cryptocurrency, that is huge when you print trillions of dollars at a time. That is a wild card. Specific to next week, of course, home sales, confidence, Again, look to the future and how people are feeling. And then, of course, more inflation. That's the key one we're going to be looking to on Thursday. At this point, I'm not sure where the floor and the ceilings are. Again, extreme volatility and confusion, schizophrenia. But at this point, we've seen a nice blip. We've seen a nice recovery. So I'm locking and taking advantage this week. Lastly, just go to the website, fluentmtg.com, every single day so you can see what's happening in your market. All right, guys, Chris Bettis, Fluent Mortgage. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Most of all, take advantage of this market. Rates are insane this week. And Merry Christmas. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye.